Hey guys, welcome back. So today we get to show you something that's really cool. This, in my opinion, is probably going to set trends with regards to how red dot sights are going to evolve for the use on rifles. The sight we're going to talk about in today's video is, as of this recording, not quite yet readily available. It's not even really listed on the website. I know they're in production because this is a production sample that was sent to me by Sig, but it's the Romeo 9T. And we're going to talk about what makes this rifle sight so much different than every other red dot sight currently on the market. Now, the 8T, the Romeo 8T, has been an extremely popular red dot sight from Sig in the tactical community, if you will, here on YouTube. I think the 9T takes it to the next level. There's only one thing that's going to hold this sight back, one big thing, and that's the price. But we want to focus on the features of this thing, then we'll get into the price of it. And why I think this thing is so revolutionary is because it is going to change the game. This is going to prompt competitors to respond. And in doing so, you're going to see companies like HoloSun and stuff like that coming out with competitive products that will have similar features at a much lower price. But this thing is blazing trails, and we're going to talk about it in today's video, the Sig Sauer Romeo 9T. A lot of folks ask me, how can I get involved in the firearms business in that particular community? And one of the best ways to do that is to become a gunsmith. Every gunsmith I know is just overbooked with work. It's a very good living. And so if you would like to become a gunsmith, you need to go to a gunsmithing school or become an apprentice for an existing gunsmith. But Modern Gun School is an accredited college that also works with veterans in the GI Bill, where you can go and get a degree from accredited college in gunsmithing and then go out and start your own gunsmithing business, which I think is a really great option. Again, throughout my entire life, gunsmiths have always been able to earn a really good living, assuming they have a really strong work ethic. So please check out Modern Gun School. I do have a link in the video description below. Red dot sights have kind of changed the way we use our fighting rifles. I grew up in the era where iron sights were still the norm. We did have red dot sights back in the day when I was a young man, but they were just wildly expensive and nobody really quite understood how to use them. And people just generally turn their noses up at new technology. Iron sights are fine. We don't need these silly red dot sights. They don't do anything. What if the battery dies? All the nonsense we had to battle to get to where we are today. Today, people accept red dot sights as kind of a de facto standard when it comes to equipping your defensive rifle, fighting rifle, whatever you want to refer to it as. But what does a red dot sight do? Well, the early red dot sights, they were called occluded eye gun sights, OEGs, and you couldn't see through them. You looked into a black field that had a dot floating out there. The Armson OEG is an example of that. We had the True, I think it was the True Shot or True Dot or something like that was used during the Vietnam War and a special operations mission. That slowly evolved into what we know as, like the red dot sights that Aimpoint put out that you could see through with the adjustable sight to, zero it, things like that, to where we are today. So we've gotten past the argument that red dot sights are a necessity. Matter of fact, now we're starting to get into the argument, well, whether or not they make sense on a handgun. They just accept the fact that they're good on rifles, but people still want to argue that they're not necessary on handguns. But in the next 2 years, every single handgun's going to have a red dot sight on it for the most part, where it makes sense. We're almost there already. So the red dot sights have always been limited by a few things. One, battery power. So we've had things like Meprolite that used tritium, but tritium has a half-life. When the tritium goes bad, you have to send the sight in to have it replaced so you get your dot back. But tritium glows day or night. No batteries required. Then we had solar-powered sights that would either augment the battery or just be solar-powered with an internal battery that it would charge and use as needed. So people have tried all sorts of things to improve the functionality of the red dot sight, but there's one thing that led me to this 9T, which prompted me to reach out to Sig when I learned about it. Now, the 9T, the Romeo 9T that you see sitting here on this Sig 300 Blackout rifle, the MCX, this rifle appeared last year at SHOT Show. So there's lots of videos out there on it showing it on a table, but that's a pre-production prototype. This is an actual production sight. This thing changes the game. And again, what led me to the site was I was online searching like, man, I love 300 Blackout, the rifle you see here. 300 Blackout, as you know, if you follow the channel, is that cartridge I'm just infatuated with. I think it's the best defensive rifle cartridge out on the market right now in the United States. You can shoot subs, you can shoot supers, you can suppress it, be super quiet, you can run supers and hunt deer with it. It's just an outstanding cartridge. But because I run suppressors and subsonics and supers are going to have wildly different point of aim, point of impact, I wanted a sight that could jump back and forth very easily between supers and subs in terms of a zero. And that is what led me to a Google search that brought me to the 9T, talking about the prototype sight from last year. I reached out to Sig and they said, yeah, they're in the pipeline, they're in production. We'll let you know when we have a few. Well, I got a call a week ago saying, we have a few. And so they sent me one to do a video with, and that's what you see here. So what is it about this sight that has me so incredibly excited? It has 2 dots and a multi-configurable reticle, meaning you can go with a 65 MOA outer ring, a 1 MOA dot on the red dot side. You can do away with the 65 MOA ring, just go to a 1 MOA dot, and then you have a 2.5 MOA green dot. And they both coexist at the exact same time. Well, why would you want something like that? Well, each of those dots is independently adjustable. So I can have a dot that's zeroed for my supersonics, and I can have a dot that's zeroed for my subsonics. If you don't run 300 blackout, you have a rifle that you like to hunt with, right? But you have 2 separate loads. You have one with a 175 grain match, and you like to shoot a 147 grain ball when you're not shooting your match ammo, or you're gonna have 2 different points of impact. Well, you can zero 2 different dots for those 2 different points depending on what ammunition you use. Do you like to run a suppressor? We all know that a suppressor will probably change the point of impact by an inch or 2. And so if you want to zero the gun to not have a suppressor on it, then you can zero it with the second dot when you have the suppressor affixed. So that is the functionality I was looking for. And it would seem like a simple request, but nobody's done it until now with the Romeo 9T. Now, I will say, let's just get it right out of the way. This sight is ridiculously expensive. And when I say ridiculously, I mean it. This thing, map price on it, so the lowest price that Sig will allow you to sell it for and remain a Sig dealer is $38.99. I'm not talking about $38.99, folks. I'm talking about $3,000, $899. So it's outrageously expensive. But why is that? Well, we'll get into the features of the sight because there are a lot of features to talk about here outside of the dual dots and the independent adjustability of each of those dots. So let's delve into that in the next segment, talk about all the features of this sight. And I think you're going to agree with me. This thing is an outstanding functional device. The price sucks, but when it comes to function and quality and everything else about this sight, it's setting trends, folks, and you're going to see the competition following this thing. Okay, so let's jump right into all the many features of the Romeo 9T. First of all, it is very rugged. This thing is built for military application. Okay, so you have a aluminum T6 body on it, roughly the same size as a Neotech. And then on top of that, you'll notice that it has a slightly different colored protective unit. This is made out of titanium, so it has an extremely tough metal protecting an already beefy aluminum housing. So this thing is definitely designed to be dropped from airplanes. Now, we talked about the independently adjustable dots. So if you take a look at this thing, you're going to see an adjustment knob here, 2 on the top of the housing, and 1 in the front. And you're going to notice the markings on them. And this is going to say, this is up for the green, this is up for the red, this is left, right for the green, this is left, right for the red. So they're clearly marked. All right, so let's talk about the buttons. So on the back here, we don't have buttons like you'll find on some EOTechs. The buttons are over here. I kind of prefer them here, especially if you're going to run a magnifier, because the magnifier tends to block access to buttons in the rear. So I do like them on the side. This thing is rated to 2 atmospheres for 2 hours underwater. So this is all watertight hardware. And these are the buttons that you're going to use to control the sight. You can turn it on, turn it off, and you can select the different reticles that are available for you. You can display 1 reticle at a time. You can display both the red and the green simultaneously. You can display it with red with the 65 MOA ring around it like an EOTech, or you can display it with just a simple 1 MOA dot. All right, you can't put the ring around the green. It only exists on the red. Also, it comes with these lens covers already installed. You can pop these off in the box. You also have a kill flash ARD you can put in the front if you want to. Now, it has titanium mounting hardware, has a 1/2-inch wrench that you'll tighten it down to the top of your rail. Over here, we have a 123 CR123A battery compartment. Now, my dot is on. This is another very cool feature. I'm going to take the battery out. That's the only battery that you can replace. But when you look through the sight, you're going to see the dot is still on. I don't know if Jason can get that. Can you just get a little bit of red there, Jay? All right, so you can see that the dot is still on. Now, the dot has gone from a 65 MOA circle with a 1 MOA dot in the center of it, because I took the battery out, it drops its battery consumption by getting rid of that 65 MOA ring and just going to a simple 1 MOA dot. That's to extend the battery life, the internal battery that you can't change. It'll last for 10 hours in this mode, okay? So if you're out in the field and your reticle starts blinking at you, it's telling you that your 123A battery is going dead and you have 10 or so hours to replace it. You can take the battery completely out, as I just did, and it'll still function just fine. Also, it will go to sleep after 2 hours of inactivity. So if I set it right here, leave it on, walk away, in 2 hours, the sight's going to shut itself off. The minute I move the rifle, it turns itself back on. That technology has been around for quite some time. Each one of the clicks is a half MOA at 100 yards, so roughly a ½ inch click at 100 yards. So overall, this thing has a ton of features in it. It has a night vision setting up here, so you have 15 brightness adjustments for both of the dots, and then you have 12 daylight visible and 3 night vision capable. The other really cool feature about this sight is it emits no radiation forward. So it is not a laser sight like an EOTech. It's a true red dot, and it has a very sharp, crisp reticle. I have a slight astigmatism. I see no sprites whatsoever on the red dot, a little bit on the green, nothing on the red. It's very sharp, where the EOTech is kind of pixelated. It just kind of, and sometimes will fade on one side. This thing is laser sharp, very focused, very solid, a really, really easy to pick up red dot. And unlike the EOTech, it has 50,000 hours on its 123.8 battery, plus that 10-hour reserve, and the shake awake and all that other stuff. So it has pretty much every feature you could think of, all packed into this little tiny housing, roughly, again, the same size as an EOTech. When you get into the box of it, here's the manual. You're going to find that it comes with a little tool to clean the lenses. This is a wrench that it comes with. This will allow you to remove the titanium housing if you don't want it on there. This wrench is for tightening the bolt onto the gun. Here's your kill flash ARD that comes in the box, which you just pop out your front lens cover, pop this in its place. And yeah, that's pretty much everything in the box. It'll come with the Romeo 9T. So, built like a tank, incredible functionality. I really wanted to try this on a 300 blackout, which is why, sorry folks, things are falling outside. I really wanted to try it on 300 blackout because that was my original vision, right? I wanted to have a sight that I could use with subs and supers. We've played with sights that had that capability in the past. I have a Trigicon, and it's an ACOG, but it was designed for 300 blackout. So you had your standard crosshair. On one side, you had a drop tree for supersonics. On the other side, you had a drop tree for subsonics. Now, I've zeroed this rifle to both supers and subs using the 2 independent dots, and when I turn both dots on at the same time, the dots look like this. The subs don't have the same point of impact, obviously, as the supers. And that was the downfall of the Trigicon sight, because I had that etched reticle and I couldn't independently adjust or zero those holdover trees. It never really was zeroable, and the holdovers were completely worthless to me. This changed all of that. Let's do a little bit of shooting with the rifle set up with the Romeo 9T, and I'll show you how to quickly jump between the two reticles when I switch between, in this case, supers and subsonics. I also want to point out the fact, something I didn't talk about earlier, is it has this system in it called the DARC system, D-A-R-C. And the DARC system has a series of lens coatings and stuff like that inside of there that really makes night vision pop. One of the things that people in the tactical community really liked about the Romeo 8T was its night vision settings. Those are carried over into this, so it's night vision settings. When you use night vision with this thing, you're going to have a really crisp dot, very clear image through the sight. It's very well set up for that. Again, military application, but boy, we sure can welcome this technology in the civilian world too. All right, so I have a couple of different flavors of ammo out here. First of all, I have some Federal subsonics, and I want to thank our friends over at Federal for supplying the ammunition free of charge to the channel. Been shooting Federal since I was a young pup. Great ammo, great people, great company. And then for our supersonics, I'm going to use some of the new AAC. This is from our friends over at Palmetto State Armory. They too sent me this ammunition free of charge. I want to thank them for doing that. We've toured their facilities, outstanding modern manufacturing, offering more and more cartridges every day. Outstanding stuff. This is some of their 110 grain stuff with a VMAX bullet in it, and this is some 220 or 200 grain? Yeah, 220 grain subsonics from Federal. All right, with all that being said, let's crack the window open. Guys, it is cold outside, so we're trying to keep the wind blocked as much as possible. It's right in our face. All right, so I have the rifle set up right now. Right now I have it set up with the 65 MOA circle, which is very EOTech-ish, with the 1 MOA dot in the center of it, and that is zeroed. My red is zeroed to supers, so I'm going to grab my supers. I will put some ears on for this one, guys. My batteries are dead in these. All right, and now we have a target at 150 yards out there. Let's pop off a few rounds at that target. I love the MCX. This rifle with this sight, this is my ideal rifle. I am so madly in love with this setup. All right, so we're going to go ahead and drop the magazine out. Now we have some subsonics. Now, to switch between subs and supers, it's simple. The night vision button right here on the top, I'm just going to look through the sight. I'm going to push down that night vision button, hold it for just a second. It just switched to the green dot. Now I have a 2.5 MOA green dot, and that's telling me, hey, you switched reticles, and now I'm going to use my subsonics. Now I've zeroed this at 50 yards. With the subs, I zeroed the red dot for the supers at 100 yards, but my bullet drop is such that if I aim at the face at 100, I'll hit somewhere in the upper chest. With the subsonics at 50 yards, the bullet's going to hit right where the dot is. So let's go ahead and run this out with the subs out to 100. I'm going to aim at his face. And to switch back, if I want to go back to supers, I just look at the sight, hold that button down for a second, boom, already back to the 65 MOA EOTech style red dot sight, ready to go back to supers. Now, again, same thing can be done with suppressor unsuppressed, or heavier bullet weight, lighter bullet weight, depending on what you want to do. Now this sight can be used with like a unity riser. You can set it forward, raise it up a little bit, put a magnifier behind it, all that good stuff. And with the unity riser, it's going to work really nice with night vision. I mean, guys, honestly, this is, in my opinion, the absolute best red dot sight on the market right now. And it should be for $3,899. All right, so that's going to stick in my craw. It's going to stick in your craw. But again, folks, just remember, while these are out of the reach of the average person right now, what this is going to do is prompt the competitors out there to come up with competitive products, or to give you those two independently zeroable dots, and maybe some of the other features that Sig has in this. But if you're absolutely looking for the best red dot sight on the market, money's not really an option or a matter of concern for you, and you want the best red dot sight on the market, I would have to say this is it based on my experience in all the red dot sights I've used at this point in January of 2024. So yeah, I'm thoroughly impressed with this thing. I wish it were more affordable. Maybe at some point Sig will offer a different version of this with the dual dot functionality, and take some of the other stuff out of there, like the night vision and things like that, that folks don't need. Maybe the lensing could be, gone back to more conventional lensing, that we don't really care about the radiation going out forward. I don't care if somebody at 100 yards sees I have a little tiny red glint in my eye. Maybe there's something that can be done there. But if not, again, look to competitors to come out with something that's going to try to steal Sig's thunder. But I want to thank Sig for sending the sight out for us to make this video, and also for making this really, really cool red dot sight. What an amazing thing. If you guys have any questions about the Romeo 9T, you can ask those questions down below. If you'd like to support us here at the Military Arms channel so we can continue to bring you content like this, consider becoming part of our Patreon family. Again, there's a link down below right here on YouTube. You can support us in the age of demonetization by clicking on either the thanks button or the support button. And again, you can support us right here on YouTube. Please swing by, check out Copper Custom. Thank you for, gosh, coming up on 16 years of support. We'll talk to you guys soon.